All right, this is Darker Days Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Mike, and tonight I'm joined by David. How's it going, David?
Hey, Mike. It's going well, despite it being obviously late evening for me here and early for you. So
A little bit, yeah. Who is, of the three of us on tonight, who is the most tired right now? I'm not sure. It could be me, could be David, or it could be Chigg. How's it going, Chigg?
It's not me. I'm well rested and well adjusted, ready to start the evening.
I hate you.
I get
Oh,
that
no.
a lot.
No, he's ready to rock. And a good thing, too, because you're going to be leading a lot of our discussion tonight, because this episode is going to cover Deviant the Renegades, character creation. Chigg has prepared a character for us, which we're going to review, walk people through the character creation process, talk about and highlight some of the new rules in Deviant the Renegades, and we'll also have a link in our show notes to the Darker Days blog, which will have a copy of the character that Chigg made.
Suitable for use in your next Deviant Chronicle.
Absolutely. It's going to be pretty
Tell
rad.
us how it goes,
Yeah.
because this will be a fun character to play, I feel.
It is. Yeah, we'll talk about it. It's going to be a ridiculous character. But that is what we're sometimes known for. So, before we get to the main segment about Deviant the Renegades character creation, let's talk about a little bit of gaming news.
Yes. So today, as in probably about an hour or so ago, before this recording, we had an update from Renegade Studios about a new V5 book. We have Sabbat the Black Hand coming out soon. So the Sabbat fluff book has just been announced by Renegade. They have also kind of confirmed online through their what's it called? Twitter. That's the one. That there will be a PDF with it, and they are creating a new website where you can do international orders as well. Currently on their website, it's only US, but they're working on it. So fingers crossed, I'll be able to get a copy of it over in the UK at some point, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, David, listen, if you can't order a copy direct, we'll make sure we can get you one somehow. You know.
To be fair, it's probably cheaper for me to order it, post it to you, and then for you to post it across to me, considering international shipping laws. But
maybe I don't know.
You never know.
Chigg,
As I was saying earlier, I could be in America next year, so we'll see.
Ooh, who knows?
I said,
Chigg,
do they even
what was that you
have
were about to
Sabbat
say?
packs in the UK? Really, do you need the Sabbat outside the United States? Maybe Mexico. Maybe.
Maybe.
Well,
Chigg. You remember Monty Coven? He was a Sabbat Assamite, right?
Yeah, from like Detroit, right? I don't think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I don't think he was. Oh my gosh, man! Revised era vampire.
One of the things that me and Chris were kind of thinking of was bringing in the Sabbat into the UK through Liverpool and into Manchester with our Manchester settings. So you never know. You never know what might happen on that point. But in regards to kind of like vampire stuff, we've also got Renegade Game Studios are running a V5 con, which it's effectively a V5 con, isn't it? Like they're running and giving loads of updates on what they're doing with V5 over the weekend of 11th to 13th of June, which also happens to coincide with the Onyx Path Publishing Con.
And since it's all virtual conventions, feel free to double dip. You can attend both from the comfort of your own living room.
Have two computers. Watch both at the same time.
Indeed. And Darker Days might be at Onyx Path Con, but we're not sure, and we have to check about that. So you might see us there, you might not. More on that through our much of our social media. That's a great way to get an update. And Chigg, how can people find our social media in one convenient place?
Well, I believe they can go to our link tree, which is linktree/Darker Days Radio.
Yeah, it's a great place to figure stuff out. And also, I just checked, Monty Coven was apparently the son of Jamaican immigrants who lived in the Hammersmith ghetto, I believe, in London, right?
Hammersmith's bad, but I wouldn't call it a ghetto.
Well, that's what this that's what White Wolf Writer said apparently in the 90s. So it's World of Darknessified, I guess.
Yeah, it's like Hell's Kitchen in Marvel.
We won't go into the 1990s World of Darkness stuff.
David, also remember this is being written by someone who has probably never been to the United Kingdom.
I'm going to make no comment.
Yeah, but I mean, they watched every episode of Monty Python, so they basically get the gist.
So here's another fun bit of news. Our very own Chris was recently on the Realm of Fire episode of Full Metal RPG, which is a really spicy podcast all about Games Workshop games. Man, they had some really zesty points, and it was really interesting to hear about their theories about in what direction both the real world game and the fictional setting of Warhammer 40,000 will go.
Yeah. Rob, I know Rob really well, who's on the Realm of Fire podcast, and I love just sitting around and chatting crap about Games Workshop with him. We both kind of had the same images of that. I need to catch up on it. It is part of Full Metal RPG, but they are running kind of as a side podcast, like we do Dark Hammer. Their Realm of Fire is kind of like a sub section of Full Metal RPG. There's a couple of episodes out now, and it is proper spicy.
Oh yeah,
Rob and Brandon properly go at it. Sometimes it's quite fun.
Oh, it's awesome. It's it is spicy indeed. A lot of habaneros and jalapenos.
And neckbeard hate.
Well, in addition to the Realm of Fire, zesty, spicy RPG, our own social butterfly Chris was also on the Cool Ranch flavored Mage the Podcast with Terry Robinson, discussing secret frequencies and how to use them in Mage Chronicles. If you haven't listened to the episode, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. And we can put links to all this in the show notes so that people can check it out when this episode drops and they hear about it. But we should also mention that Chigg also met up with Terry from Mage the Podcast. Super exciting.
Since I'm over here on the East Coast, I made a little drive down to his neck of the woods, and we hung out for an afternoon and talked about Mage and podcasting and all kinds of fun stuff. It was a super fun time.
You met people in real life. I'm not jealous of you at all in any way, shape, or form.
I've met multiple people IRL.
Whoa. Yeah. Well, I mean, David, you're going to be fully vaccinated pretty soon. So
I am fully vaccinated.
Oh, okay. It's already happened. I didn't realize the 2 weeks had passed. So yeah, I mean, hopefully things in the UK start kind of opening up soon. And
I'm going to make no comment about that being in Manchester and what's just kind of happening here at the moment.
Right. My bad.
Yeah, shall we get to the main topic of the evening, guys?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about Deviant the Renegades character creation. And it's interesting. You can go back to our previous episode about Deviant the Renegades story and setting, and we were discussing how there's a lot of vagueness with the setting, especially with regard to the conspiracies, and it really falls on the storyteller to develop those. And intriguingly, step one of character creation is go to your storyteller and ask them about the conspiracies. Figure out what they're going to be up against, and also figure out the threat level for the conspiracy. So we're kind of assuming in this situation that I'm the storyteller and Chigg here is the player. So Chigg, let me tell you about the threat level and the conspiracy we're going to be dealing with. So for this character creation sample that we're doing, we're going to go with the third level of threat level, which is probably going to mess up the pronunciation of this, but dysplasia. Interesting.
It's like a LCD screen in China. A dysplasia.
Nice. So we're going with that threat level, which is the third highest. And there are actually, I believe, 7 threat levels. So there's a lot of granularity here. And now this might seem a little strange to people that we have to start off with this threat level, but it's not completely foreign to Chronicles of Darkness games. If you look at, most famously, Hunter the Vigil, that has the 3 tiers of gameplay. You have Tier 1, street level, Tier 2, which is the compact, kind of small organizations and the like. And then you have Tier 3, the conspiracy. But that's a different kind of conspiracy than we're talking about here.
Or is it?
Oh, it could be a crossover. You can definitely have that. And Chigg also just corrected me that it's actually 6 levels of threat level. It's more granular than standard Chronicles of Darkness games that have these different tiers and levels. Do we need that kind of granularity? You could debate that point. The designers decided to go with that because these different threat levels actually do have a mechanical kind of benefit to the characters and an additional mechanical challenge. So each threat level has an associated total variation magnitude, which has to do with mutation variation dots that the characters get, and also a conspiracy standing used for the conspiracy. So for dysplasia, we have total variation magnitude of 7, which again kind of tells you how many dots the character gets for certain things, and then also a conspiracy standing of 3. So Chigg's going to design for us a cool character to oppose a shadowy conspiracy, which I like to call the Panama Investment Derivative. It's a group that seeks to dominate global economics by manipulating the money that rich idiots give them control of. The first tendril of this conspiracy that Chigg's character will encounter is the Real Development Estates LLC, a tech startup seeking to integrate man with their private property, all while buying up houses and condominiums and leaving them ostensibly empty to drive up prices in the cities and drive up prices in the market.
This is not based upon real life in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it is. It's happening everywhere, pretty much. And it doesn't really matter if she's like where you are. David, you have in the notes sounds like London and Manchester.
Yeah, it really does. Like half of London is empty tower blocks because they're owned by private investors and foreign investors who just buy them up because they know they're going to go up in money.
Yeah, we have that in Boston as well. And I know there's been a lot of that.
We have it down in Texas.
Yeah, having in the West Coast, and yeah, it's pretty wild. It's a ridiculous social situation, especially because a lot of these cities. I remember in London, I was actually surprised by the number of homeless that there were.
It's 10 times worse up here, and
Really?
yet the number of empty
Man.
buildings is insane.
But I think we can all agree that buildings designed for housing people should really be used primarily as investment vehicles, right? People, they're fine on the streets. My money,
We don't need anywhere to live. We can just kind of scrape out of bins and live in doorways. There's nothing wrong with
Right, exactly. See, you got a backup plan. Yeah. You're fine. What about my cash? What's it going to do? Just sit there? No, that's ridiculous.
Cash is trash, Anyway.
Weirdly, one of the things when you were talking about this, I've read this before, but when you were saying it just then, the thing that went through my head when you're talking about a tech startup company was the Piers Brosnan Tech House Halloween House of Horror Simpsons episode. And I now think that the character that Chigg is going to create is going to have to fight an evil house.
I can do that. Character creation in Deviant the Renegades is a very simple, very straightforward 9-step process. And step 1 has already been done for us. Step 1 is determine chronicle threat level. Mike, in his role as ST, has already done that. So if you have forgotten, just rewind about 2 minutes and you'll hear that we are at the dysplasia level. So step 2 is character concept. So as mentioned in our previous Deviant episode, I said that I could make a character who's a house. And by God, I've made a character who is a house.
Winning.
Oh, yeah.
Mason LeBroc was hired as an overnight security guard by the RDE LLC through a number of holding corporations and subsidiaries to guard a large housing block. This sounded on paper like really easy money. Nobody lived on this property. Apparently it was purchased as an investment, so Mason would only have to sit in front of a bank of computer monitors down in the basement 5 nights a week and walk the halls every couple of hours to make sure nobody was breaking in or squatting in one of the units. Unfortunately, he failed to read the fine print on his contract, and after he was injured, rousting some squatters who were trying to get into the lobby one rainy night, he slipped and hit his head. The floors were very wet. The squatters were just, innocent bystanders in this. In fact, they called in the accident. He awakened back in the basement changed. It turns out that the luxury healthcare package that was included with the job also included some strange benefits, including an upgrade package that left Mason more machine than man. He's now able to be wired directly into the building's security system for, ease of performing his job duties. And maybe someday, if he completes the service contract satisfactorily, he'll be able to be successfully removed. Maybe. No guarantees there.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. So he's still human. He still has his human body, but he can connect into he can jack into the security system of the building.
Yeah, I kind of I kind of had a little bit of an epiphany on my drive home from work one day and realized that you could very easily make a closed circuit security rigger from Shadowrun using these rules.
Yeah.
So that's what we got. We got Mason LeBroc, Mr.
Dude,
House.
I think it's awesome. He could be like a lawnmower man who controls a house instead of a lawnmower.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Oh, yes. I'm excited. All right.
So step 3 in character generation is attributes. Mason was a strong, friendly guy, but I mean, he really wasn't the brightest knife in the box, the sharpest bulb in the light. So that gives him physical as his primary, social secondary, and mental tertiary. He gets strength and stamina of 3, dexterity of 2, 3 in presence, 2 and 2 each in manipulation, composure, and everything in mental. Mental is kind of his dump category. Nice guy, big guy. Just not the brightest. Not so.
I mean, he's just average guy. He's a Joe off the street, and then something happened to him.
Step 4 in character creation is skills. Mason was never terribly interested in book learning, but he was always a big, personable kind of guy. So that means that social is his primary, with high empathy and intimidation, with leftover dots in streetwise, subterfuge, and persuasion. I chose physical for his secondary, with points distributed between athletics, brawl, and weaponry. And bringing up the rear again is mental, with a couple of dots each in computer and investigation. This will let him do his job as a night watchman. He's got the little club to dissuade people from breaking in. He's good with computers, good enough with computers to do some security on the network and on the the television monitoring systems and such. And he can talk his way out of or threaten people to leave his property.
Okay, I mean, sounds pretty straightforward. Nothing too fancy. Does he have intimidation? That seems like it would be a
he does, in fact. Since that's a social skill, it's right up there with empathy for him. Empathy and intimidation.
Oh, yep, it was in there.
Well, I like how he's empathetic and calming, but can also intimidate the crap out of you.
Yeah, exactly.
No, calm down. And they're like, no, screw you. I'm big and bigger than you, and I'm
right. He doesn't have to, but if he needs to, he can, in fact, physically remove you. But it'd be great if he didn't have to. So that brings us to step 5, which is skill specialties. You get to pick 3 in skills that you have. Mason has specialized in computer security, clubs, the brawling kind, not the party kind, and calming under his empathy ability. Because, like I said, it's easier if you can just get people to calm down and leave than it is to throw people out.
Yeah, I like it. No, they're all good.
It's showing that kind of that human side of where they come from.
Exactly. And now that brings us to where he's going. Step 6, the big one, divergence. This is where you take your standard run-of-the-mill security guard and mess them up. So this is where they got changed around into the deviant they are tonight. So first, for origin, if you'll remember from the previous episode, there was a list of origins. Mason is an epimorph. Technically, he agreed to be remade, but not really. He didn't run up to the front of the line and inject himself with that super soldier serum, but he did sign the contract. He might not have read it, but he signed it. So, as a volunteer, he gets 1 scar-free magnitude of a subtle variation and an extra dot of loyalty. What does that mean? Stay tuned. We'll get there. After that, we go to Mason's Clade. Mason is obviously an invasive, although I almost went with coactive to have him tossing electrical bolts around, but no. He's a cyborg with all the body horror and ill-fitting parts. I mean, it's what they had on the shelves. Each clade also gives you a clade-specific ability that we will not be getting into on this, but if you buy the book, it's in there, and it's a pretty neat ability for each clade. The cyborg one is that they can push themselves farther, and they can fix themselves. So, if you want more details, read the book. It's a good book.
Yep. Nice.
Yep.
Next up, we have Variations and Scars. So,
just before you move on to that, there's one bit which you've not chosen in this, but there's also forms.
Yeah, forms is an odd thing. It's not really rules focused, but if you have a character who, say they take the one where they're part elemental, or as we were mentioning off mic, you can use these rules to make a werewolf type character who changes into a wolf or a wolf man or whatever. Then you can have characters who have different forms. They change shape as it goes about. It's not really something that this particular character has, so I didn't go into it, but it is there as an option.
Yeah, when I was reading through it, it's like it's very specific to certain clades and origins. It doesn't cover all of them. Like, you've got amalgam symbiotes and transmissible and stuff like that. But I thought I'd just bring it up just before we because it is another part of it. And you can do some weird stuff with it.
There's some interesting things you can do here.
you can make Venom
from
the Spider-Man comics. Yeah, sure, why not? But moving on to Variations and Scars, which is the deviant characters' powers and their drawbacks. Each variation, which is the power, comes with an entangled scar of equal or greater magnitude, except, of course, for the 1 free dot that they get from their origin. As mentioned way back in Step 1, Mike, our storyteller, has allotted every player 7 points of total magnitude, not including the freebie. So looking over the list, Mason is going to choose the following variations and accompanying scars. So for his scar-free subtle variation, he's going to get the carapace at magnitude 1. Mason has bolted on armor plating. It's not the best armor plating. He's not, in fact, actually bulletproof. That would have been a higher level. But he is armored. He's armored up. He'll also get electrokinesis at magnitude 2, which comes with the concentration scar, also at magnitude 2. It says that you can have scars of higher value than your variation, but I really don't see the point. I don't think it gets you much, but it's an option. So if I don't say it, just assume that the magnitude and scar are at equal levels. So with the electrokinesis, he can control the input and output of electronic devices and systems, but he has to, concentrate to do so. He can't multitask while doing it, and if he gets hurt while controlling something, he loses that control. And now that I think about it, that's how spellcasting works in Dungeons and Dragons. So he is a computer mage.
He's got fire.
Oh my gosh.
With electricity.
What was it in not the sensei, that was the old term. Was it Technomancer? It wasn't Technomancer in Shadowrun.
It was Technomancer in 4th edition.
It was Technomancer, yeah.
And then there was one. Then there were ones that were like born that way. They were innate. I think that was also in 4th edition. But
yeah,
I stopped playing it 3rd. So the variations that he's had previously are universal. They're open to anybody. But I wanted to get a little bit more into his clade. So from the invasive specific variations, Mason's going to pick up integrated technology at magnitude 3 with the conspicuous appearance scar at an equal level. This represents the various hookups and tech integration equipment that has been installed in poor Mason's broken young body. So he can pick up any piece of technology and basically make it a part of himself temporarily. Like he can pick up a cell phone and now he has a built-in cell phone on his arm. Or at level 3, he can pick up like a pistol and he can fire it without ever having to reload. And batteries never run down on the device that he has integrated at this level. It's a neat power, and I thought it would play into his integration kind of guy.
I've got the Japanese movie. Is it Tetsuo?
Yeah, that's one you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's freaky.
That's
what this dude does.
Yeah, he just kind of guns come out of his chest, and yeah.
And finally, we will grab the omnicompetence variation at magnitude 2, meaning that Mason doesn't suffer from untrained penalties on skill rolls, and also, once per chapter until the end of the scene, he can effectively have a dot in every skill. So
nice.
He just knows how to do stuff. Probably from watching videos on the internet, which is why it's just one dot. But sadly, this variation comes with the amnesia scar, meaning that Mason forgets things about his life from before the divergence, and in fact can't remember one key defining event of his life at all. Which event did he forget? I don't know. He forgot, but it was probably something important, like a family, or something big.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, scars need to be big and damaging to the characters. I think that's really a really critical part of this entire game. I really like omnicompetence because if I were designing his character, I would make it like he had like a VHS port or something, a VHS player just stuck into him, and that's how he always would learn a skill. He's like, all right, let's put in the tape for the 1990s for painting.
Yeah, like
Bob Ross
between video and the Matrix.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going for like even old schooler Matrix, right? Because there you go, you got your operator putting in everything, and maybe using a disc or something. But like, no, I want a VHS tape. I think it'd be awesome. How is he going to store all these VHS tapes? I don't know.
They're real cheap, you guys. VHS tapes, they give them away.
Yeah, they do now. Yeah,
maybe it's Betamax.
Whoa!
Oh, that the poor Deviant with a Betamax player. It's better fidelity, but still.
So also one thing I wanted to highlight with the variations is that this is really where you get to really customize the characters in a way that you cannot in other Chronicles of Darkness games, right? Because not only do you have the scars, which give you a whole thematic element and really play into a lot of the role-playing options for a character, this is also where, because of the deviations on the variations, a lot of terminology here, the deviations let you really customize the characters, and also really just add like another step to the character creation process. And I think they're really good. Chigg, as you were designing this character, I noticed that you didn't have many deviations included. Was that a purposeful avoidance of them, or did you just feel they weren't really necessary for this character? Because I remember playing this at Onyx PathCon last year. That really seemed to cause a lot of confusion with just like all the variations that we had on our character sheets and keeping track of what they all meant.
This actually comes back to something me and Chigg were talking about before we actually kind of went live, I think. But I'll let Chigg kind of talk about it.
So there are just a ton of variations, and they're broken down by by clade. They're broken, and then of course there's a universal spec. You can be a giant, you can have armor, you can be, have a super ability. But for this particular character, and given the power level of the game that we're creating this for, I got 7 points to work with, and I could have had 7, level 1 variations, which are very handy. I could have had, a +1 to 7 of my attributes or whatever, just to represent that he was, faster, stronger, smarter, whatever. But I felt like for this particular character, the ones that I picked are really what made sense. He didn't strike me as particularly aquatic, for instance, and I didn't need him to have any shape-shifting abilities. Although I looked at it, I'm not gonna lie, I looked at a way that I could just make him turn into a house, which you can do in this. He can have a separate form where he gains size and he gains armor and he gains stamina because he's literally a brick house.
Right.
But I did not go that route.
I thought you were going to, but no, I really like this character so far, and I think you made some great decisions here.
But yeah, like you said, there are a lot of options, and there are so many little special abilities you can choose within those options. Like for the omnicompetence, I picked the one where he gains 1 dot in everything. Another option at this level of omnicompetence was he gains 3 dots in one particular skill he doesn't have any dots in right now. So he could just, download WebMD and be a 3-dot medicine character for the end of a scene.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really good. So I know we're kind of like in the middle of character creation, but I feel like this is a good point for kind of a tangent, like a real talk tangent. Reading through Deviant the Renegades, we mentioned this last time. Onyx Path does not like to say that this is a superheroes game, but when we get to this power section with the variations and we look at the whole host of deviations that you can pick for those, I really see the design philosophy of, say, Champions, right? That has the exact same, basic power structure with multiple like variations and other specialties that you can apply to those powers. And I feel like that was, if not the inspiration for Deviant, it's very interesting that they went the exact same route.
It's definitely in the DNA.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an extra step for character creation that you would not see in other Chronicles of Darkness games. I would not say that that's an issue, especially I would say the real key thing, and they have a lot of room on the character sheet. You should make notes of what the power and the deviations do on those powers, because if you're gonna have to quickly consult a power in the book, it means you need to read the base power and then also find all the variations as well, and that could be a little time consuming and slow you down. So I think it's really important for this game to just make sure you do copy down that information so that you have it right in front of you,
or at least
easily accessible.
At least write down which variation you chose, because like I said, every power, no, not every power, but almost every power has between 2 and a dozen little sub powers that it can do, and as you raise up your variation, you get access to more and more of those sub powers. So level 2 maybe choose one of these, and level 2 maybe you get both of those, and level 4 maybe you get both of those and also more from this list, and it just goes on and on. It's a lot. It's not just all right, well, you get 2 dots of aspects, so you can see auras, and also you have heightened senses.
Yeah.
It's really cool that you get all these options. You can create some absolutely bizarre combinations of powers and variations and all sorts of weird stuff. But as much as this is kind of one of the great selling points of the game, I find it overwhelming.
Yeah,
Yes.
There were a lot of options.
Yeah, if you're looking for a quick character generation system, this is not it.
Now, maybe somebody made up a random chart. Roll D10 down the line.
You know what, Chigg? That's your challenge. Do that, and we'll put that up on the blog.
Oh no, somebody who is not me needs to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. We could do that, and you know what? That wouldn't be a bad idea. just like a random character generator for Deviant. I mean, just if you're running a one shot or something, just roll it up, see what happens. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, that's just really wanted to bring this up is because I don't think I don't really see any mechanical issues with variation and deviation, and how the power structure is, but I really do want people to be aware that if you just pick up Deviants and you're like, all right, I need to make characters really fast, it's not going to happen. We had when we ran it or I played it, but it was run by Nick from Gehenna Gaming at Onyx PathCon. We had a real talk afterwards, and also talked to one of the writers on the game, and everyone universally agreed that there was a lot of content to dig through, not just to create the characters, but also if you're just handed a character, you have to read through large swaths of the book just to figure out what all your powers mean. And that's, again, it's not bad. It's just something to be aware of, I think.
Just to take this as an idea of how much there is in there, I've just kind of flicked through. The character generation section is over 100 pages long.
Yeah, I believe it.
That's including like all the variations in the scars and stuff. So you're looking at 100 pages worth of material there, and that's a lot. It's really cool. A lot of the stuff they put in here is like, as you say, there's aquatic. You can be a fish.
Merman.
If you want to,
Pop. Merman.
there's also miniaturization, so you could be a miniature fish who has pyrokinesis and stuff like that. So you can do some really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, again, we mentioned Champions. That book is gigantic, right? So this is much more compact by comparison to some other superhero games.
Not a superhero game.
But, right, I know.
Not technically
I
a
know.
superhero game.
I know.
They literally just made a miniature fire-breathing fish. So, no, it's not a superhero game. It's a weird game. Anyway.
So still on step 6 of character generation. Next up, we choose our loyalty and conviction touchstones. So this is what deviants get to use in lieu of the other morality systems presented in other Chronicles of Darkness games. Every character gets 3 dots of convictions and 1 of loyalty and 1 based on their aforementioned origin. So convictions are people, groups, or places that the remade feels animosity toward, while loyalty is those who they care about and try to protect. So rather than just having, a standard moral guideline, killing is, morality 10, make a roll. Deviant is much more about connections to people, groups, places, things like that. So our sample character here, Mason, feels loyalty toward his housing block. It's a living. He lives there. And towards Jenny Adams, who is a young woman who comes by occasionally to check on him, bring him food, and keep him from going completely insane. He doesn't know it, and I didn't have it written down in the show notes, but in my mind, Jenny is probably somebody who is sent by the conspiracy to check on him, but it's okay because he still feels loyalty toward her. His conviction touchstones, meanwhile, are James Hinckley, the corporate recruiter for the conspiracy, who he feels tricked him into his current life. A gang of teens who keep trying to break in to party on the ground floor level of the building, and Mr. Baxter. Mr. Baxter is a small yappy dog whose owner walks him over to the building 3 times a day just to poop on the lawn. And the owner never picks up the poop. Mr. Baxter is a constant thorn in Mason's side.
That's
Incredible.
amazing because of the way stability works.
You're right. Oh my gosh, Chigg, you're an evil player, evil story. You would, if you made this character and gave it to someone, you would be
dealing with James.
Evil incarnate.
Is easy, but dealing with Mr. Baxter, I would just no, you're an evil man.
What do you mean? What stability? What do you mean? I don't. I don't know what that is. What are you talking about?
Are you going to try and make me understand the rules for stability now?
No, I'm going to make you try to explain them to the listeners.
Screw you. So what? Let me. I was reading this before, and stability kind of. When we were saying, like Mike was saying earlier about, it's about those interactions between people, and this is where it all kind of comes in. So the Divergence and the Renegades, their idea is that they have to go out and stop the people who did this to them. And that is generally what you see when people do touchstones, and they do their what are they called, convictions? Yeah, convictions. The bad people. These are the people that the deviants want to go out and stop. And it's kind of like that story hook that the PCs give the storyteller, that they're going to go out and fight, and these are the people who are driving them mad and have upset them. And so whenever you fight against your convictions and do things against your convictions, you become more stable. However, when you kind of do bad things against your people that you have loyalty to, you become unstable. There's three levels of instability. There's minor, medium, and major. And it kind of works a little bit kind of the same way that willpower works. If you do something minor against one of your loyalties, you get a slash. If you do something a little bit more than that, you get an X, and then you get a hash for the major ones. Your stability is generally 5 plus your acclamation. I think.
Yes.
So acclamation. Acclamation is kind of how far along you are at dealing with your madness in a way.
And for the record, Mason has an acclamation of 0. He is in no way well adapted to his changed form.
Yeah. So Mr. Baxter is in for a load of crap. Literally.
Well, here's the thing. I chose Mr. Baxter for a reason. So, like you said, if you act to further the good feelings with your loyalty touchstones, then it helps you. If you do something to hurt or upset your loyalty touchstones, it works against you, and vice versa with conviction. So if Mason upkeeps the property, he fixes some broken windows, he walks the halls, make sure nobody's getting in, he does his job, quote unquote, does his job because he has loyalty to the housing block. Well, hey, that's good, that helps him. When Jenny comes by to check on him, if he talks to her about her day and makes her feel as welcome as she can in his creepy underground lair, then that also helps him. If if Jimmy comes by and wants to check on his investment here, the property that he's technically the manager of, or he wants to check on Jimmy. I'm sure if he wants to check on Mason, then if Mason is nicer to him than he strictly needs to be, then that's working against Mason's stability. If he just acts like a machine toward Jimmy, if he's just does the minimum required of his job, then that is kind of needling Jimmy, kind of working against Jimmy's better interests. So that works out well. That's a negative toward his conviction, which is what he wants. You want to be negative towards your convictions. If Mason lets the gang of teens who are trying to break in to have parties down in the lobby, if he just opens the door one day and lets them in, well, that leads toward instability because he's working against his convictions. He's working against his morality. He doesn't want to let these people in. He's supposed to protect this property. He's working against his basic, his core programming, to use for lack of a better term. Now, Mr. Baxter, little yappy dog, comes by, poops on the lawn. Jimmy is supposed to maintain the property. He's not supposed to have poop sitting out on the lawn. He hates Mr. Baxter. he's not going to murder this poor little dog. But he might do things to dissuade the dog from coming by, since, he is connected to the building. He could turn on the sprinklers whenever Mr. Baxter squats down or lifts his little hind leg or whatever. He could do things to run the little dog off. He could maybe go across the street and make that lawn look better for pooping on. There's all kinds of options here. It has to be antagonistic, but it doesn't have to be combative, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things about that stability thing is it's not a combative thing. It's very much about the interactions between those convictions and loyalties. It's a social thing. So you are to put it bluntly, you are a superhero. You've got massive powers, but one of the main things about the story aspect is it's that social interactions of how you deal with people.
It might require role playing.
Oh my god! Oh no! You can't do that. It's got to be Math Finder. We've got to do all the maths. Stop making me do role playing. That's not what I'm here for.
Obviously, that's the way you do it. You whip out your gun, you shoot the little dog. Problem solved.
Oh no!
You said it, not us.
That's step 6. That's the end of it. The end of it is determine your acclamation. You can buy acclamation up with freebie points if you want, or freebie points with merit points if you want to. I chose not to because it makes the character seem more fun. If for me, this particular character, if he is kind of weird and not at all mentally stable due to his recent shift into being more machine than man, twisted and evil.
Acclamation points are really expensive as well.
So speaking of merit points, that brings us to step 7 of character creation. Merit time. You get 10 dots of merits. Like we just said, you can spend all of them for 2 points of acclamation if you want to be a fairly well-adjusted deviant renegade freak, but I chose not to do that. These are mostly the standard Chronicles of Darkness merits like Direction Sense or Eidetic Memory, with a few deviant specials tossed in like Flashback or Shared Suffering. Mason splits his 10 points between language. For 1 point, he can habla español. Shared Suffering, which is a 2-point merit, which gives him bonuses on empathy and medicine with other deviants because he can feel their pain and know what they're going through and know what they've gone through. They also have their small yappy dogs to deal with. Air of Menace for 2 points because he's scary looking. Demolisher for 3 points because he's good at breaking stuff. And Hardy for 2 points because he's got a lot of machinery inside of him. So I figure that makes him more resistant to diseases and poison and being strangled and stuff. So
that seems like that's mostly new deviant stuff that you're highlighting.
It's a good mix, I felt. I mean, language is always around.
Sure.
Step 8 is determine advantages, where you use simple math to determine the character's willpower, health, speed, initiative, and defense attributes. And finally, you pick an aspiration, which is a short-term goal your character wants to accomplish. Mason wants to buy a pig. Wait. Nope, sorry, wrong game. Mason wants to make more friends. Jenny's great and all, but he wants people to treat him like a person again instead of a messed up semi-robotic monster. Finally, there is a 9th step that I do not go into on this character creation, which is determine how all of your characters fit together as a group, because this is the only character we're creating. He fits together as a group very poorly, or incredibly well, depending on your point of view. And that, as far as I can tell, is character generation in Deviant.
Nice. There we go. Chigg, thank you so much for putting that character together. A lot of fun. Pretty goofy, but really insightful. And you really stepped up to the challenge of making this dude into a house. And you could do that in Demon, and now we proved it that you can do it in Deviant.
And I made this character in under an hour and a half. I had the idea for this character while driving home from work. Got home, opened up the book, and said, I'm going to scrap the guy that I made previously in the week, and I'm going to make a new, better character. And I think this is a new, better character.
Oh, okay. So how long did, just out of curiosity, how long did it take you to create the first character?
The first character took me hours.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Going back and forth through those variations and scars and how they interact, and
Yeah.
they all have keywords, and scars there's 3 different flavors of scars, and there's 3 different types of variations. I didn't go into that for this character. It'll all be on the character sheet that we're gonna post up with this, but yeah.
Yeah, so there's like overt and subtle variations and all sorts of stuff that go in top of this. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, but from our sample size of one person, that's kind of interesting to note. So it takes a while for the first character, but your second character, you're a lot more familiar with it. You know what the power options are. It's a lot quicker to make the character. 90 minutes is still pretty long for a Chronicles of Darkness character. I think you usually crank them out in like 30 or so. So that's still a little lengthy, but it's kind of a nice little anecdote right there. I think this is also really important to note because if you have a group of new people to Deviant and you're starting a new game, I think you're really going to want a session 0 for everyone to be there making their characters. I think that's going to really help stuff out, especially because you're going to need to talk about the conspiracy. You're going to need to figure out like if they have similar convictions and loyalties,
origins and clades, and did everybody sign up for this? Was somebody caught in the blast from the other guy's volunteer? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, you're going to want a session 0 so you can hash out the world.
The openness of the actual story that we said in the previous episodes, like, that can come straight across into this as well, because there's so many options there, and those in the way the variants and the scars and the deviations all kind of interact with each other. It gives you so much freedom in the story, and then that the tier system in the setting of how many points and stuff that you get brings in another level of freedom in the story. It's like it's completely open as to how you want to do this. So it's very much an open world game throughout, which gives you a lot of options, and it tries to throw a lot of those options at you, and then combine all those options together to give you more options, and then there's more options on top of that, because who doesn't need more options? I love it, but I think there's too many options.
Also, before we go, I want to point out that neither of you caught the subtle joke that the character's name is Maison LeBroc, which is French for the brick house.
I did see Mason. I was like, oh, Maison. Also masonry, but yeah, that's clever. I like it, Chigg. Good job.
I have my moments.
I'm just waiting for the many layers, because this character generation obviously has many layers between it, and we end up with the onion, and then we end up with Shrek. So I'm still waiting for Shrek to appear at some point.
Oh my gosh! Here you go with your Shrek and your gingerbread man. I mean, that's another reason to have a session 0, because if everyone goes off and makes their own character, and then you're just like, we'll figure it out session 1 while everyone's together, it's going to be ridiculous.
It's never.
David's going to be Shrek. I'm going to be a Ninja Turtle. Chigg's going to be a house.
We're going to have a half angel over in the corner. It's just going to be a whole thing. Yeah, you're going to want a session 0 if for no other reason than to set the tone and tie everything together.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, I think that just about wraps us up then. In closing, as always, you can find us basically everywhere on the internet. Our links are at Linktree. That's linktr.ee/Darker Days Radio. You can email us at darkerdaysradio@gmail.com. And like I said, we're on all the social medias. Go to our Linktree to find out more. I'd like to thank Mike and David for joining us this evening. Guys, it was a pleasure. I'm glad you enjoyed the character. And we'll get that character sheet up on our website, which, again, you can find at our Linktree. Until next time, be nice to Mr. Baxter and stay safe out there.
This has been an episode of Darker Days Radio. Special thanks to Occam's Laser for the intro, outro, and new bumper music from their hit album, 9 Circles. Check out the rest of their work at occamslaser.bandcamp.com.